What are some of the things that are the barriers to actualization? What are some of the things that will not allow us to achieve this thing called higher consciousness? What are some of the things that will not help us develop? What are some of the things that will not help us achieve the kind of growth and success we're looking to achieve? So I'll come up with a list of reasons why most of us, almost all of us, find it very hard to even get on to this journey of achieving higher consciousness. All of us are in a certain stage or state of consciousness, and the whole journey of life, as we all know, is to increase awareness, increasing knowledge, increasing open-mindedness, increasing inclusiveness, and increasing consciousness. That is what we're constantly doing. However, we do it in a very unconscious way or a subconscious manner. Alright, the list is fairly long. I'll see if I can get through them fairly quickly. Alright, the first one that I have on this list is close-mindedness. Close-mindedness, which is we tend to close ourselves with the kind of knowledge that we have, and we say, this is the knowledge that I know or that I have, and this is what I believe in, and I'm open to listening to what is outside of this knowledge. However, I'll be very hesitant to actually absorb that knowledge, include that knowledge. Yeah, it's fine as long as it doesn't affect my knowledge, my current state of knowledge. Yeah, I can listen to it. And this is exactly what happens when people like me speak. And because I'm not an accomplished speaker, I'm not a Wayne Dyer, I'm not a Robin Sharma, I'm not a guru like Sadhguru or Ramana Maharshi or a Mother Teresa. I'm not even like Alan Watts or Sharon Pearson or Leo from Actualized.org. So I've not got this thing called fame or popularity, and because of which most people tend to discount everything that I say. They're not open enough to be able to accept these things that are coming out of just an ordinary guy's mouth. Even though I've always maintained this, even though I've read a few books, not a lot of books in the last 4 or 5 years, maybe 30, 40 odd books, but I don't just read these books. I study them, I research them. It takes me quite a while to read a book in its entirety, because it's not just about finishing the book, it's about understanding, not just from the author's point of view or the writer's point of view, but how I'm able to interpret all that's available in that book. It's all about open-mindedness. So the reason people listen to the more accomplished writers and speakers is because of the popularity and the fame they already have, not realizing that at some point or in the stages of their beginning, or when they were starting off, they would have been in exactly the situation that I'm in. But they persevered. They persevered, and they kept doing it when the world started to call them genius or great. So discounting is another word, which is part of close-mindedness. Another word is thanklessness. We've all heard about gratitude and counting blessings and being thankful, but many of us are not thankful enough. The human mind has become so negative that we tend to look at what is not working, what we don't have, what we aren't, or what we are not, rather than looking at things from an optimistic point of view. You might be thinking I'm talking about positive thinking and all these things. Absolutely, that's exactly what I'm doing. I am talking about positive thinking, and thankfulness is part of that. And thankfulness not just for the things that we have and that we do, but also thankfulness for everything that we don't have. I mean, if your health is good, you can be thankful for not having any kind of sickness. If you have sufficient money, you can be thankful for having the money, but at the same time also be thankful that you don't have to live in a state of lack. So thanklessness is another barrier of increasing consciousness. What else? Overcautiousness and recklessness, the two extremes. Now it's good, this is something that I learned from Jim Rohn, to give credit where it's due. Jim Rohn came up with something called diseases, and overcautiousness and recklessness were the two extremes he was talking about, and he said it so beautifully. If you get a chance, just watch it, and it's a beautiful episode. You know, we live in a mode of either being very cautious, but at the same time we live in a mode of overcautiousness, and there's not enough adventure, there's not enough risk taking. Or obviously the other extreme is being too reckless, being too casual. And finding the balance between these two extremes is very important. What else? Lack of self-respect. Lack of self-respect. Why do we mistreat other people? Lack of self-respect. Why do we not show kindness and care for others? Lack of self-respect. What else? Pessimism. Pessimism. We don't know enough to be a pessimist. We don't know enough to be a pessimist. We look at things from a very fearful and negative perspective. Even with its sickness or illness or poor health, it is about allowing what the body is doing and being optimistic about it. This is something that it took me a few years to understand this, and I have spoken about this in previous episodes as well, about health being an external aspect of life and how much we can actually improve this thing called health by just being more mindful, by increasing awareness and by increasing consciousness. I will dedicate an entire episode on health, and I'll share with you some of the things that I wrote maybe about 3 or 4 years ago. How poor health, sickness, illness, pain, physiological pain, mental pain, everything can be dealt with consciousness, with thankfulness. What else? Complaining. Looking for opportunities to complain, looking for opportunities to get offended. Most of us, almost all of us at least the people that I meet, we are looking for opportunities to get offended. Even some of the videos, I'm sure I do offend a lot of people. But it's not me saying that offends people, it's in the mode that most people are, that they take offense to some of the things I say. Complaining. What's not working? We're constantly looking at everything was fine but for this. Complain. These are just words. Obviously these are just words, but what's more important is the actual thinking, is the actual being behind these words that will disallow us from achieving or attaining higher consciousness. What else? Making excuses. We all have reasons why we can't do this, and we come up with hundreds of reasons why something's not possible, and we make excuses why we can't do this, because of this, because of so many reasons. What else? Gossiping. Yeah, we all face that almost every day at work. I hear this a lot as well. Gossiping is nothing but fear of being authentic. I hear people in my office speak softly the moment they're talking about someone else. Or gossiping is generally done about another person. People start whispering to each other. It is all. I mean, it's just nothing but fear of being authentic, not being genuine. Gossiping is something like what you feel, but you can't say it to the person you're gossiping about, but you would like to say it to another person, like being a true hypocrite. And obviously you would have hundreds of reasons why you do this. And you'll become judgmental about why you gossip. Everyone does it. Yeah, that's it, exactly. Everyone does it. That's why everyone is in a certain state of consciousness. What else? Lying. Lying, I'm not just talking about lying to another person, but lying to yourself, lying to oneself. How much we lie to ourselves on a daily basis. We all think we have this thing called freedom, but no, we constantly are lying to ourselves. All right. Doubting and suspicion. Doubting and suspicion. There's something behind this. Something's not right. Instead of taking things just the way they are, there has to be something hidden behind this. Something is not right. Having this kind of a doubt or a suspicion about someone or about something, about an event or about another person. Intolerance. Tolerance is probably one of the biggest virtues. It's almost, tolerance is something like in a state of acceptance and inclusion. Tolerance helps one become wise, and intolerance the opposite. Intolerance. Impatient. You know, this whole journey that we're all going through, myself included, we are in a journey of bettering ourselves, developing and improving ourselves. There is no quick fix solution for this. It has to be a lot of patience. Laziness. Laziness, again, it's almost like wanting a quick fix solution. Not willing to do the hard work, not willing to take the hard yards. Laziness. Jealousy and envy. It is one of the 7 deadly sins. And this is one of the biggest barriers to actualizing oneself. What else? Conformism. Conforming to something that you believe in, and that is it. There's nothing that I can accept or believe, and I conform to this. Conformism. Rigidity. It's the opposite of flexibility. Being open-minded, flexibility is a virtue. We think, oh, but you have to be straight and upfront, and this is how it is. It's either black or white. Being so rigid that we start living in a box. This is how it is. This is knowledge. This is what I know. This is how things are meant to be. That's it. So what happens is that knowledge stops growing. Something I learned from Osho was, he said, knowledge is something that has to be absorbed and immediately done away with. Otherwise, it becomes a belief. That's knowledge, that's it. But knowledge is something that we absorb, we gain some knowledge, and we let go of it. It's almost like, in the Chinese tradition, they talk about emptying the cup. You know, having the cup empty all the time. Having an empty cup, that's what it's all about. What else? Anger. Oh, I don't need to say much about this. You know, when I was talking about people getting offended, yeah, it's basically just that. We're looking for opportunities to get offended. And anger is nothing but taking offense. Another beautiful quote that I read a few years ago is, anger is a poison you take in order to kill someone else. Anger is a poison that can only kill oneself. You get angry about something, who is it going to affect? It's going to create a certain kind of chemicals in the brain. It's going to make your blood boil. So everything that's happening is happening to your body. Why? Because you got angry. Now this, again, I'm going to get into this thing called life, this thing called entity, or this living entity, energy, or soul, spirit, whatever you call this thing that is the real I, the real you, is the one that is sending messages to the brain. The brain doesn't do anything on its own. So the soul, the spirit, the I, the real I, this living entity is sending messages to the brain. The brain reacts because brain is a tangible object. It can do things only when the life form is giving it messages. So what happens is when this life form is giving messages to the brain reacts in a certain manner, and that in turn creates a certain physiological effect on the body. Emotions is exactly just that. Emotions is nothing but thoughts, however, in a physical form. Anger is an emotion. So when you have anger, it is you creating all this in your body. Even anger has got several levels. Even the mildest form of anger is causing some kind of imbalance in the body. Anger. One more I have, and that's exclusiveness. That's obviously the opposite of inclusiveness. Exclusiveness applies everywhere. Applies with beliefs, applies with family. This is my family. Everyone else is excluded. It also applies to communities, applies to countries. This is my state, this is my community, this is my religion, this is my country. Exclusiveness. This is my football team. This is my cricket team. Yeah, so these are some of the attitude diseases that Jim Rohn calls. I'm just calling it, the barriers for actualization, barriers for improvement, barriers for developing, barriers to developing consciousness, barriers to increasing consciousness. Thank you for watching. Until next time.